On. Good morning. Today is Thursday, October 20th, and this is the time and place for the regularly scheduled Nevada Gaming Commission meeting for the month of October. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, has our agenda been posted in accordance with the open meeting law?
Yes, it has.
All right, at this time, I would like to remind anyone coming to the podium to speak that we ask that you speak directly into the microphone, speak as clearly as possible, as this meeting is being transmitted electronically and being transcribed. This time, Madam Secretary, if we could proceed with our first agenda item, public comments.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
All right, anyone who wishes to address the commission may do so at this time. Matters brought to our attention during the public comment cannot be acted upon, but we are happy to hear comments of the public as well as from my fellow commissioners. Comments by all will be limited to 3 minutes as a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction. If any of my fellow commissioners or myself ask questions of the public, the time needed to address those questions will not be held against those time constraints. I will first go to Carson City. Anyone wishing to make a public comment, please step forward to the podium.
There's no one approaching, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. No one present in Carson City.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You were just about to state your name.
My name is Kathleen Penna. I'm a cocktail server at the Red Rock Casino. I started working with Station Casinos in 1997, opening up the Sunset Station as a cocktail server. In my 9 years that I worked at Sunset Station, we had 3 rebids, and that allowed us to move around and change our shifts and accordingly, to help us with our lives. I transferred to open the Red Rock Casino in 2006. I started in the bingo room as a cocktail server, and I am currently still in the bingo room at Red Rock. After several years, Red Rock had a rebid, and in the beverage department. All of the bartenders and all of the slot cocktail servers only were allowed to do the rebid. Every other cocktail server, including bingo, race and sports book, the poker room, and the pit, were all excluded from this rebid. When I found out about this, I went to the beverage managers, the beverage director, human resources. I went to corporate and finally to the general manager of the Red Rock. With the majority of the cocktail servers in agreement, and after a full year of trying to follow the proper chain of command, a request for a full rebid without classifications, without pods locking us into the bingo room, the poker room, or the pit. We were informed by Scott Nelson, the general manager of the Red Rock, that there would be no full rebid and offer no explanation to why we wouldn't have a rebid. For the past 16 years, I've been in the same room, with the same shift, the same days off, same hours, with no opportunity to change. To make changes, I would have to give up my seniority, 25 years with the company. I would lose all my benefits. I'd stop at the bottom, I'd be on an extra board and be on call, just to leave bingo to go to any other area in the Red Rock. This doesn't happen in any casino in Las Vegas, none. I'm not the only cocktail server who's been put many years with the company and feels like there is no advancements or changes. We feel that the company isn't listening to us. October marks 1 year that the Culinary Union proposed a negotiation to change this system. As of today, the company has offered nothing in return. They haven't counteroffered anything. So we voted the Culinary Union in at Red Rock, and we want the company to respect that. And I would like to know if someone is going to hold them accountable. I just would like to move on with my life and make some changes. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ken Liu. I'm with the Culinary Union. We continue to ask you to investigate station casinos in order to maintain the integrity of the state's regulatory system. The issues raised by this company go beyond NLRB cases and repeat violations of federal labor law. Today, I want to bring your attention to potential violations of federal election law by Frank Fertitta III and Lorenzo Fertitta, who are controlling owners of station casinos and holders of suitability findings by this body. The two of them made $756,300 in political contributions at the federal level between 2019 and 2021. The Federal Election Commission reports by the recipients of these donations contain false, outdated information. For example, in December 2019, Lorenzo Fertitta made a contribution of $140,000 to the McConnell Victory Committee. The receipt lists his employer as UFC and occupation as CEO. The Fertittas sold the UFC in 2016 and sold their remaining minority stake in 2017. So the information on Mr. Fertitta's donation receipt is years out of date and as a result false. There are 24 other similar reports of false, outdated information about employer and occupation on the receipts of Fertitta's donations between 2019 and 2021. The Culinary Union submitted a letter to the FEC in April to ask for determination as to whether this inaccurate information was knowingly submitted in violation of Title 52 of the U.S. Code on Voting and Elections. The FEC has numbered this as a matter under review. As of today, we have not been notified of any final action. While federal regulators review this matter, we urge you to directly ask station casinos about such false, outdated information related to political contributions by its controlling owners. We think it's important to find out whether Frank Fertitta and Lorenzo Fertitta might have been responsible for providing inaccurate information or for having inaccurate information being reported to the FEC. Specifically, we ask you to consider whether Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta might have failed to, quote, comply with or make provisions for compliance with all federal, state, or local laws and regulations, unquote. In this case, federal election laws and regulations under Gaming Regulation 5.011.1F. We continue to look forward to you taking action. Thank you. And I brought copies of the letter we submitted. May I submit to the Executive Secretary?
Yes, you can. Hold on one second. Can somebody grab that? Anybody at all? Enforce. Are you? Sir, what you just read into the record, did you give that to us?
Yes, that's the copies.
Okay.
I always provide a copy.
Okay, and is that verbatim what you just said on the
Yes.
record? Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to make a public comment? No one else indicates they wish to make a public comment, and that will close our public comment section. All right, at this time, I'm going to call the matter out of order. Madam Secretary, if you could call the regulation agenda item, please.
You have one regulation agenda item regarding proposed amendments to Nevada Gaming Commission Regulation 5 as noted on the agenda.
All right, this hearing is going to be postponed until the December agenda to give the industry more time to review the recent drafts. And this has been proposed by the chair of the board. So that will be on in December. Thank you. All right, Madam Secretary, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the prior month's disposition.
Pursuant to NRS 241.035, this item is the consideration of the approval of Nevada Gaming Commission disposition for September 2022.
Okay, each of us has had the opportunity to review the disposition. If there are no questions, I think it's in proper form for a motion.
Thank you, Chair. I move for approval of the September 2022 disposition.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And Commissioner Kekeffer, you voted aye, yes?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. And there were none opposed. Madam Secretary, please read in the restricted consent items.
Your items on the restricted consent agenda this morning are items 1 through 10. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval with conditions as noted on the agenda. I believe we have a disclosure on these items.
Thank you so much. I do have a number of disclosures for restricted consent number 3, 4, 8, and 9. As it relates to 3 and 4, Dottie's 215 and 216, and Nevada Restaurant Services. Louis Roca, the firm where I'm a partner, is adverse to Dottie's in unrelated matters in which I'm not personally involved. I have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of this agenda item, of these two agenda items, and I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate. As it relates to consent items 8 and 9, I make this disclosure in an abundance of caution. An entity with related name Century Games Pte. Limited is a client of Louis Roca, the firm where I'm a partner, in an unrelated matter, in which matter I'm not personally involved, and I also have no pecuniary interest in the outcome of those two agenda items. And I do not believe the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my position would be affected by the relationship described on the record, and I therefore intend to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. If there's no other disclosures, are there any questions or comments on any of these items?
No.
All right. Does anyone have a motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair Tagliati. I would move for approval of restricted items 1 through 10 as read into the record and recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Right. Is there any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right. The record should reflect that there were none opposed. Thank you. Madam Secretary, if you could read in the new game consent item.
You have one item on the new game consent agenda. That item is 235 Stud Poker submitted by Scientific Games.
Okay, I believe we all had an opportunity to review the materials in this matter and the Gaming Control Board's hearing. Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right, there appearing to be none. Does anyone have a motion?
Move for approval of new game Stud Poker as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
All right, any discussion on the motion to approve 235 Stud Poker?
No.
All right, there being none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. There are none opposed. Madam Secretary, I believe that brings us to our non-restricted agenda items held out for discussion. Please read in non-restricted number 1.
Non-restricted number 1 is the application of Aristocrat Leisure Limited for an amendment to their order of registration. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval. I believe we have a recusal on this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Keykever? Go ahead.
Yes, I appreciate it. I need to make a disclosure that I am an employee of the law firm Donald Carano. The applicant in this matter is represented by partners at the law firm, which I'm an employee, and due to this pre-existing relationship, I hereby recuse myself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Madam Secretary A.G. Burnett with McDonald Carano, and here with me today is Ms. Joyce Arpin. She's the Senior Vice President of Finance and Treasury for the company. The company appeared before the board a couple weeks ago. We're here to essentially revise the old 14th revised order of registration into a new 15th revised order of registration. You can see the changes that are being proposed. I believe right now we're working off draft number 3 because we caught a very minor typo yesterday. So you should have that new amended version in front of you. Essentially, we're changing the administrative agent from an old agent, which was UBS, over to Bank of America. And then in addition to that, old paragraph 14, which relates to a previous financing that the company had, that financing has been paid off, and so that section is no longer relevant or necessary. Then we're removing old paragraph 19B because press releases are no longer required under Reg 16. And lastly, changing the composition of the compliance committee members to make that more accurate to reflect what the company has now. Other than that, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Ms. Arpin and I stand here to answer any questions you might have.
Chair, may I ask just a point of clarification?
Of course.
Mr. Burnett, we received a draft number 3 dated 10/15 of 2022, but you referenced that these changes were made yesterday. Is that still
We
draft
might be
3?
on draft number 4 then.
don't-
I worked with Deputy Chief Russell Teggio yesterday. We just caught a very minor typo. Chief Hoffman probably has that.
Yeah, Chief Hoffman here. Yeah, yesterday there was just a typo. It said Bank of American instead of Bank of America, and the N was removed. So it's still considered to be the draft as of the board meeting.
So it's still 3, but with dated
With a-
yesterday.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
I'd like
got
the
it. I
record
just
to
wanted to make
reflect
sure.
that I caught that change, and there was no way this was going forward without making that change.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to make sure that I had the correct version. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't have any questions with respect to the underlying request. It seemed pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cohen?
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Harper, I just had one question, not about the application itself, about the credit markets in general. Are you starting to see, any seizing or, more difficulty in maneuvering these
Yes.
days?
Yes, absolutely. So this deal was actually perfect timing for me personally, and because I had a baby a week later after we closed the financing, but also for the company, and that essentially the credit markets have been closed since the first week of June. And if you have access to those markets, it's at a very deep discount, meaning your interest rate on that loan is essentially double what we could have done. So we entered the markets very well, and at an extremely good time, got very good pricing. We're able to diversify our capital structure with this term loan A, as well as refinance our term loan B. We extended our maturities, got better covenants, so it was very good timing for us.
That's what I wanted to say is going through the materials, I was shocked, at the numbers that we
At the
read,
interest rate? Yes.
especially today's market. So good for you, good for the company.
No, thank you.
But I do know it's getting more and more difficult,
Yes.
to refinance, in this market. I just wanted, just to get a gauge from you. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Brown, do you have anything?
I did have just a few questions. Thank you for coming today. We appreciate your presence very much. Kind of goes further back, big picture. When I was reading through the materials, I noted that, and I don't know if you have the answer, maybe if council has it, but the Genesis company, Ainsworth, it pivoted, as I understand, from dental equipment manufacturing, and it was founded by Len Ainsworth's father in 1933. Do you know how it pivoted into where we are today?
I do not. I don't know if you know that.
I don't either, Madam Commissioner. Len Ainsworth obviously goes way back in the annals of gaming history. And he did start the company beforehand, and then obviously later on segregated off. But I don't know the answer to that one. There's
I was just
another
interested.
famous.
It's a very different Genesis story, so I was curious how it
Yeah.
pivoted into what it is today.
Yeah. We can look into that.
No need. I'm just curious. Just curious.
I'd like
And
the
then-
answer before the end of this meeting. About 7 minutes.
We'll get on it.
Maybe 8. And then I do note that I know the Playtech deal was blocked when the investment group purchased the blocking shares, as I understand. And since that deal was blocked, I think it was back in February of 2022. How has the progress gone in expanding its presence in the iGaming space? It was my understanding that there's the acquisition of Rockstar Gaming with 100 new employees serving to expand the company's iGaming presence. Just wanted to hear how that progress was going.
That's right. So yes, you're right in that the Playtech shareholders did not vote for that deal to go through. So in February of 2022, we announced a new segment of our own. And it was recently announced, the name of that segment, Anaxi, which is our focus on real money online gaming.
Could you spell that for the record, please?
It's Anaxi, Anaxi. That's
What
the
does
name.
that mean?
It's named after the old Greek goddess, or Greek god, and I'm gonna totally mess this up, but Anaxa something, Kathy may know. So it's an old Greek god who is known for innovation, creativity, and so that's what we were inspired to name our segment Anaxi. So that segment was formed in February, comprised mostly of existing members of our gaming team who have been with the company a long time, know our content and product very well, particularly our CEO, Mitchell. And we have been focused on a build and buy strategy since then, building our own, so forming our own team with our own employees, and then buying talent, buying product, and buying some content, although we like our content more than our competitors. And the goal is to get our content out online. And the acquisition of Rockstar that you mentioned, that we announced about a month ago, gives us some of the way there, gives us a remote game server. And so it gives us the technology, it gives us more talent to help us develop, and it gives us some content. So the goal there is to get our content again online. And last week, when we announced the name of this segment, Anoxi, we did say that by the end of this calendar year, we do aim to get our content online by partnering with 2 of our customers here in the US. So there's more to come on that, and we'll talk more about that on our earnings call on November 16th, Australia.
Well, thank you so much for the thoughtful response and being prepared. I appreciate it. I have no further questions and I have no areas of concern.
I have no areas of concern as well. I would just note that our investigation materials indicate that since the last time the company was before the commission in July of 2020, there have been no significant regulatory violations and no material litigation. And so, how nice for you, smooth. Anything else? Okay. If there's no additional comments or questions, I believe the matter's in proper form for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move for approval of non-restricted agenda item number 1 as read into the record by Madam Secretary, and approval for the Gaming Commission Chairman to execute draft number 3 of the order of registration.
Any discussion on the motion?
No.
There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. The record should reflect that Commissioner Kiekever did not participate in the hearing, discussion, or vote on this matter. Thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate your appearance.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted number 2.
Non-restricted number 2 is the application of Zen Sports, Inc., doing business as Big Wheel Casino for a transfer of interest as noted on the agenda. It is also the application of Robert Kowalski for licensure as a shareholder and key employee as noted on the agenda. The recommendation of the Gaming Control Board is for approval. I believe we have a recusal on this item.
Thank you so much. My law partner, esteemed law partner, is here today from the law firm of Lewis Roque, where I'm a partner, and he's representing the applicant, of course, and I must therefore recuse myself from voting on this matter, so I will step out. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair Togliatti, members of the Commission, Madam Secretary. For the record, my name is Glenn Light with the law firm Lewis Roque. I'm accompanied here by the applicant, Robert Kowalski, and in the audience is Mark Thomas, who is the president and majority owner of Zen Sports. So we're here today to request that Mr. Kowalski be licensed as a key employee of Zen Sports. At the board hearing, Mr. Kowalski did a short affirmative presentation, and then he and Mr. Thomas answered the questions that the board members had. We are happy to do the same today, if that works for you.
It does work for me. How about I start in Carson City? Commissioner Kiekever, do you have any questions or comments?
I'll wait to hear what they have to say, and then I do have a couple questions based on the materials. Thank you.
Okay.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Madam Secretary. I want to once again just introduce myself. I'm Robert Kowalski, Kowalski. A little bit of a background for where I started and where I am today. I began my gaming career as a ticket writer at the Barbary Coast in 2004. Had a series of supervisory positions in the sports books of the El Cortez downtown, opening Wynn Las Vegas, and then for a time at the Venetian. Had some opportunities that I had working in gaming in New Jersey for the Meadowlands racetrack before returning and having a really robust experience with station casinos under the Wildfire brand. That's where I was the general manager of the Greens, Wildfire Anthem, and Wildfire Valley View. That gave me a very good level of experience, not only operating slots, but a bar service, and then of course a restaurant at the Greens. And brings me a little bit to where I am today with the Big Wheel Casino out in Lovelock. 51 games. Next week is going to be 1 year that I've overseen it. We have a really excellent team that's very excited and very engaged with the locals that are there and those that come inside in partnership with Strategic Gaming Management. They have the slot machines that they provide for us. I was able to oversee a good series of improvements that we have there, not only from audio video, but from adding some more current games that our locals really do enjoy. And then, of course, minor touch-ups. And so what we really have today is a property that if we look back year over year, I could say I'm very, very happy with what we have, all most importantly from a compliant perspective, which is first and foremost for me in everything that we do. And so with what we have today, it's a very good operation. It's been successful. It's been providing very good revenue year over year, and it's something that I'm very, very happy to discuss and open up to further questions at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Keycapper, do you have questions?
I have no questions for Mr. Kowalski. His background was all good for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Sorry, I didn't turn my microphone on. Thank you for being here today. I didn't have really any questions regarding your personal background. I did have a question for you regarding the operation. How much time are you spending on the actual operation in Nevada?
Right. And so the operation at Big Wheel and Lovelock, I spend roughly 25 to 30 hours early on in the first quarter, especially. It was far, far more because I wanted to ensure that everything that I saw from the operation was done in compliance, and wanted to kind of get a feel for what the pulse of the property was. So as I knew that I have a very, very responsible team, and the manager that I have there has been there for over a decade. She's been remarkable there, and we're able to participate in communication, phone call, via Zoom. And so even though the trip for me, I'm up in Reno, the trip for me is only an hour, we're able to manage the property very, very well together.
Okay. You indicated that you have 6, I believe, in the materials. It's 6 leads, or I don't remember what the title was, people that report to you.
Mhm.
Is this manager one of those 6?
Correct.
Okay. And what is her title?
She is the manager. She's the casino manager.
Casino manager. Okay. So she's in charge basically in your absence. Okay.
That is correct.
Tell me a little bit about how, so you spend 25 to 30 hours on this operation, and then the rest of the time you spend on whatever other responsibilities you have with respect to the sports platform that's being developed. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Compliance, tell me what the structure is with respect to that.
From the Big Wheel Casino,
Yes.
right? And so at Big Wheel, what I want to ensure is that from a slot operation, it's done everything to spec that we had year over year. So when Strategic Gaming Management ran the property, I'm in a very, very good, comfortable relationship with the general manager and the compliance manager at Strategic Gaming. And so I speak to them almost every single day. And so every single time that we do, whether it's a drop or whether we discuss adding a game or removing a game off the floor, having a slot technician arrive on a weekly basis, I'm in constant communication with them in person to make sure that we're staying exactly how we're supposed to be from the very first days that Strategic even had the problem. So what they did from a compliance perspective, I wanted to make sure that we did that, if not more.
They're still essentially the slot rod operator, correct?
That's exactly right.
So is any reporting that's required to be done to the board performed by them?
That's correct. Right. So they provide the data. We vet it as well. We file it actually from a Zen Sports perspective, since we're the owners of the property.
How about like any other additional? I'm assuming when you're saying the reporting, you're talking about the NGC ones,
Exactly.
the tax forms. How about any other like annual reporting?
Right. So from a reporting perspective in regards to labor or employees that are registered with the Gaming Control Board, that's also something that we file, Zen Sports files.
Who prepares it? Is it you or them?
Mark Thomas. He's in our audience.
So what reports are you filing quarterly and annually?
Yes, Mark Thomas could speak to that in terms of filing.
But you're in charge of compliance, right?
Mhm.
So we work together on this. So I'm actually the one that administratively, I'm Mark Thomas, CEO of Zen Sports Inc. It's a pleasure to see all of you again here today. So the NGC 01, 31, 32, ENF, those get filed every month. And then the quarterly ones, I believe, are the 04. And then the annual statements, of course, get filed in July as well for the fiscal year ending in June. Yeah. But we work together on that. In strategic gaming, most importantly, strategic gaming management, which is a slot route operator, they provide us all the statistical denom reports and everything else that we need to be able to file. It takes about 1 hour per month to do those.
Okay, perfect. When you were here last time, Mr. Thomas, you indicated that compliance was going to be one of your key new hires within a couple of months.
Yep.
And of course, at that time, I expressed my concern of having Mr. Kowalski perform the compliance function with him being the chief person in charge of operations. It's very much not only less than ideal, but it's not recommended to have basically your compliance person be in charge of operations. What happened with that?
So a couple of things, and this is probably something you'll have questions on, but the first is we ended up going through an acquisition with Keystar Corp. Keystar has every intention of getting its Nevada gaming license and completing second closing of purchasing the Big Wheel Casino from Zen Sports Inc. Keystar does have a chief compliance officer in place to manage all of that. And yes, I understand in the interim, your concerns about the compliance piece, but we have successfully run the Big Wheel operation for the past year. October 26th will be 1 year exactly since we took it over. All reports have been filed on time. All taxes have been paid on time. It's really not a big lift with only 51 machines and strategic gaming management being the slot route operator. They literally handle everything. As Robert mentioned, also Connie Gottschalk, who is the casino manager there. She's been there since 2007. It's a very well-oiled machine. It's a very tight ship that's run. And while I understand, your concern, we have been successfully managing and running the business without any issues for the past year.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Commissioner Cohen?
I have no questions.
I don't have any questions. I think it's all been addressed in the investigation, the questions, and the board hearing. So at this time, unless one of my fellow commissioners have anything else, I believe it's in proper form for a motion, this item.
Madam Chair, I did have one more question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Thank you. And it relates to the Curacao license and the indication that you're holding onto that license in anticipation of potentially going international again. Can you talk a little bit about what your plans are for international?
So with the acquisition of Zen Sports technology, non-Nevada assets by Keystar, yes, we have intentions of expanding into additional states in provinces such as Tennessee and Ontario. Regarding internationally beyond North America, we are looking at opportunities there. However, we do not want to, nor will we be using our Curacao license for that. In fact, we've actually surrendered that. We will be getting country-specific licenses in the countries that we want to go into, which obviously I know is something that's important to the board and to the commission. So using a Curacao license with the legal opinions for the reciprocity is not what we want to be doing. We are going to be getting country-specific licenses for any countries we're going to.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That's all, Madam Chair.
Just a quick follow-up. When was that surrendered?
Just recently this summer when it came due to renew, we decided to surrender because there was no need to renew it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is there anything else? All right. Does anyone have a motion?
Madam Chair, I would
Thank you, Chair.
move.
Oh,
I would-
go
Sorry,
ahead.
Madam Chair, I would move
Commissioner.
that we approve non-restricted item number 2 as read into the record by Madam Secretary and recommended by the Gaming Control Board.
Right. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And there are none opposed. The record should reflect Commissioner Brown did not participate in the hearing, discussion, or vote on this matter. Thank you very much. Appreciate your appearances today and answering our questions.
Thank you very much. And I also like to just thank very much the time and expertise of Agent Jeffries, and
Thank you.
have a good morning. Thank you.
Madam Secretary, please read in non-restricted number 3.
Non-restricted number 3 is the application of Heather Rolla for licensure as a manager and key executive at Interblock USA LC. The recommendation of the Nevada Gaming Control Board is for approval.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Nevada Gaming Commission, Control Board members, and Madam Secretary. For the record, I'm Kimberly Maxon Rushton with the law firm Cooper Levinson, appearing on behalf of the applicant, Heather Rollo. Ms. Rollo is the Chief Financial Officer and Manager of Interblock USA, LC. As your materials reflect, Ms. Rollo has had an extensive history on the financial side in the gaming industry, spanning over 2 decades in both the United States and in Asia. Having graduated from Southern Utah State University, where she obtained both her undergraduate degree as well as her master's degree in accounting, Heather went to go work for Aristocrat Casinos in 2003. Since then, she has served in multiple capacities with gaming companies, ranging from chief accounting officer to chief financial officer. Most importantly, her reputation is as not only for her financial acumen, but also her commitment to compliance. She joined Interblock in September of 2021, having previously worked in Hong Kong with Melco Resort Entertainment since 2014. With this brief background, I'd like to introduce the commission to Ms. Heather Rollo and have her expand on her background, her experiences with Interblock, and then answer any questions that the commission may have.
Morning. Thank you, Kim. Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Madam Secretary. For the record, my name is Heather Rollo, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Interblock Gaming. I joined Interblock approximately 1 year ago in connection with Oaktree Capital's acquisition of Interblock, which just closed this past June following Oaktree's licensing with Nevada. My role is, as Kimberly said, is to oversee the financial functions of the global company. So that includes accounting, treasury, taxation, reporting, and financial planning and analysis. And as she mentioned, I also am on the board of managers of the Interblock USA LP, which is the entity holding the Nevada gaming license. And I am a member of the compliance committee. So to just touch a bit more on my background, I was born and raised and educated in Utah, and following my graduation, relocated here to Las Vegas to begin a career in public accounting. So I served almost 7 years for various firms here, and at that time worked with some of the industry's largest casino operators and advised on some of the transactions that occurred in the late 90s and the early 2000s. I have been, as Kimberly mentioned, a chief accounting officer or chief financial officer since that time. And in the last 7 years, or approximately 7 years, was living in Hong Kong as an executive for Melco, was Melco Crown and then Melco Resorts and Entertainment. It's a publicly listed U.S. foreign private issuer that has properties in Macau, Manila in the Philippines, and is developing in Europe as well. So very happy to be back here in the United States and very excited to be able to work with our new partners, Oaktree Capital, and our global CEO, John Connolly, to take Interblock through the next phase of its growth. So at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has. I'll start with Commissioner Brown this time.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to appear before us. It's so nice to meet you in person.
Thank you.
You have an amazing, diverse background, and just curious, what was it like living in Hong Kong for 7 years?
It was actually a great experience. It's a world city, and they make it easy for expatriates that don't speak the language to live. And so it was an amazing experience. I got to work with a number of diverse people, and very fortunate to have that opportunity.
What do you miss about living in Hong Kong?
Possibly the convenience of it, and just the ability to travel, the ability to meet so many different people and to learn about global business was invaluable for me.
It seems like it's a microcosm of the world. There's so many different people who live there.
That's right.
From all
That's
over.
right.
It sounds
It's
fascinating.
a melting pot of different cultures.
Can you tell me how you split your time between your homes in Henderson, Nevada, and San Marino, California?
Yes, I'm employed here in the Las Vegas offices of Interblock, and so I spend weekdays here and occasional weekends there.
Got it. Thank you. And then, can you explain to me about your dual citizenship? It's my understanding you have a U.S. citizenship and a Cyprus citizenship.
That's right. That's right.
As a executive at Melco Resorts, we were developing a large integrated resort on the Greek side of Cyprus. And in connection with that development, which I was involved with, the government offered certain executives to participate in a golden passport program to allow for easier access to the country. And at that point in time, I participated in the program and have a passport. I don't use it, but it currently is active for the next 7 or 8 years.
And when's the last time you were in Cyprus?
2019.
Do you have any plans to go back in the near future?
Possibly. I do spend a lot of time in Europe, having a Slovenian entity as our parent.
And then could you just elaborate for the record? I was very interested in the Oak Tree Capital's 2022 purchase. Just give us some more background on that and give us some information, if you would, for the record.
Certainly. So Oak Tree Capital entered into a share purchase agreement with the former owners of Interblock in December of 2020. And following their licensure in all of our jurisdictions, the transaction closed in June 3rd, 2022. They purchased 100% of the stock of the company and also provided bridge financing during that period while we were pending the closing of the transaction. Upon the close, we refinanced that bridge financing, and they're now the 100% owners of the company.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't have any areas of concern, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Keyheffer, do you have anything?
I have nothing, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything either. Thank you for being here.
Very much appreciate your appearance, and I don't have any additional questions. Thank you for the presentation. I think you want to make a motion? Sure. Okay.
He's pointing. I move for approval of, Madam Chair, I move for approval of non-restricted item number 3 as recommended by the Gaming Control Board and as read into the record by Madam Secretary.
Any discussion on the motion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
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 And there are none opposed. Yep. Sorry, I knew what you were going to say.
Madam Chair and members of the commission, would be remiss if we didn't take the opportunity to thank Agent Joe Lombardo for his assistance with this matter. It was exemplary working with him, and he is a wonderful, I would say, an asset to the board and a representative of the state of Nevada. So thank you very much.
Nice to hear. Thank you.
Yes, and I'd echo that. It's not easy to get background checks in foreign countries right now, and so we were very appreciative of how professional and quickly he got through it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read in our next agenda item.
Next for your consideration is one gaming employee registration appeal. That item is Edward Miles, case number 21LV03338.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, sir. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Edward Oliver Miles III.
Okay, so this is the time for you to address your registration appeal. If you wouldn't mind. It's up to you as far as what you want to say to us in support of your appeal, and let us know why you're here today challenging that.
So I'm here today to, I guess, kind of, to hope that I can get it back. There's stuff that happened in the past that I don't think should affect me as of now. Sorry, I'm kind of.
It's okay. Take your time.
Yeah. So basically, stuff happened back then. I shouldn't have been guilty for it, but I pleaded out to it. So hopefully, I can get all my rights back and everything. And then it got dropped down. I don't know if you guys have a copy of the disposition. So everything got brought down, honorably discharged, and
Well, before we have a substantive, detailed discussion about your case or anything to do with your case, I just want to make a record that I had an electronic copy of the materials. We're left with the record below, below the record from your proceeding. We don't go outside of that. It would be improper, really. And so I had an electronic copy and the font was so small on your court records that I wanted to make sure I was 100% sure, just because I'm old and I can't see, that I had nothing to do with your criminal matter, because I took what's called senior judge status in 2019. I was a district court judge in the 8th Judicial District for over 17 years, and I resigned as a senior judge upon my appointment to the commission. So my review of these records don't show any involvement on my part of anything to do with anything. However, if you had some recollection different, you should let me know. If you don't think you've ever seen me and never heard my name, and I don't think I certainly would never remember, even if I had your case, to be honest with you. But I've checked. I don't see anything. But I would let you certainly bring to my attention if you felt like there was something from yonder years that I should know about. No, okay, I didn't think so, but I wanted to be super sure. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, unless you had anything additional you wanted to say, open it up for questions from my colleagues or comments.
no, ma'am.
I mean, if you prefer, I'll give you a chance to make a statement at the end to wrap it all up after you know what the questions are. How about that? Okay? Okay. Does anyone want to start in particular? Commissioner Keycapper, do you have anything?
No, I'd prefer to wait, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Solis Rainey.
Mr. Miles, you're about 25 now, right? At least that's what, at the hearing, you were 25. Okay. So how old were you when this incident happened? 19?
18 or 19.
18 or 19? Have you had any other interactions with law enforcement?
Other
This
than,
is your
maybe
only
a
one?
speeding ticket.
I'm
Can
sorry?
you just speak up?
Other than a speeding ticket.
Okay, perfect.
You know what would be nice? Because of your height, if you could just put that microphone all the way up. Perfect.
There you go. Thank you. With respect to the date of the incident, it was October 15th, 2019, 16, sorry, you're right, 2016. You were carrying a weapon.
Open carry.
Open carry at 18 and 19. Why were you carrying that to go to a party? I was just curious.
At first, I wasn't going to a party.
Okay.
I was just like doing my own thing, and then my friends decided to pick me up, and then decided to go to party, pick up friends, and then we got pulled over.
Did you typically carry open carry all the time?
Not all the time.
Okay. What was the reason other than, I mean, obviously it's your right to bear arms and such, but what was
That was more of the reason for doing it.
And because you were 18 or 19?
Yes.
Okay. I've read everything. I've read the transcript. I've read your testimony. I mean, I note the inconsistencies that you pointed out with respect to one of the reports initially indicating that it was 3 Hispanic males and one of the other ones indicating it was 2 Hispanic males and 1 Black male. I understand that, and I understand the testimony. You've completed everything that the court asked of you with respect to the conditions of reducing this from the felony to the misdemeanor, correct? I wasn't clear from the records. Did you complete your high school diploma or did you get a GED?
So it started to get to the point where I was almost able to, get my what is option 1 diploma.
Uh-huh.
But then I guess they reduced the credits or took me due to work. So I wasn't able to complete that, but I was able to complete everything else.
Okay, but you were close enough that they were able to still honor the disposition and reduce that to the misdemeanor, correct?
Yep, honorable discharge.
All righty. That's all the questions I had. I would pass to my colleagues to see what else they have, and I appreciate your time.
Commissioner Cohen, do you have anything?
Mr. Miles, as the chair pointed out, we are constrained to what was below in the administrative hearing that you had, where questions and answers were given. What you're asking us to do is difficult. And it's difficult because of the charges that were brought. And I'm not saying, again, I can't say whether or not, guilty or innocent. I certainly read, the issues, regarding Hispanic people you were with. But I'm troubled by the fact that there was a guilty plea that was entered. Because that's what the board looked at, and that's what we have to look at. And you've done a wonderful job of complying with with the issues to go ahead and get it reduced to, I believe it was it
Misdemeanor.
misdemeanor disorderly conduct. If you were applying for a different position in the gaming industry other than security, and I realize that you wouldn't be carrying a weapon, I might look at it this differently. In other words, if if you were going to be a dealer or in a restaurant or something like that, it's the nature of what you're applying for. I myself think that there should be some additional time. And I know you've done well with your life, and I know I believe you have your girlfriend present, your mom was present, at the administrative hearing, but it's just difficult to ask this commission, or at least for me, to go ahead and overturn that based upon the record before us.
Commissioner Brown?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming before us today and providing us with the information. I'm hoping you give us a closing statement. And I also wanted to thank you for being honest and disclosing this information on the GER application. We do have instances where people don't make disclosures, and that is not your issue. So I commend you on that. But unfortunately, at least for me, I'm constrained by the record that we have before, and we can't deviate and go beyond the four corners. But I am very interested and ask you to take the opportunity to give us a closing statement with as much detail as you can to help me make a decision. That would be most helpful to me.
Commissioner Keycover?
I'm okay, Madam Chair. Thank you.
So I was going to, it was touched upon that you applied for, and this is in relationship to a security position. It might be different if it were a different position, but, how do you feel about the idea that you have to work with police constantly? And you, based upon what you told, what was discussed at your hearing was that, you were pretty much pled Alford to a felony that you weren't guilty of, to a great degree because of police investigation or lack thereof. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
How do we say this? Well, I have nothing against anybody. Just a normal person. I won't hold it against them.
Can you lean towards the microphone?
Sorry, I won't hold it against anybody. Wrong place, wrong time. It's scary, but I'm not gonna hold it against anyone. I'd like to just keep moving forward.
Okay. I'm sorry, you were going to ask any?
Yeah, I was going to just ask a follow-up question. With respect to the last 6 years, I mean, there's a big difference between an 18, 19-year-old to a 25-year-old in my mind. And if this is your only interaction with law enforcement, which it seemed to be from the record, but I asked you so that we could confirm that. I'd be interested in hearing from you, how you've grown over the last 6 years and, what this position means in terms of you moving forward. With respect to the question that Chair Tagliati asked, as far as you dealing with law enforcement, have you had any other opportunities to interact with law enforcement in a positive way?
Well, I've done security for like the last 7 years. I've I have friends that are police officers. I have friends that are school police officers, and when I was in high school, I also, I was friends with the officers that were there. Um,
Where were you a security officer over the last 7 years?
so I've also worked for Cyber Protection Group. There's a lot of third-party private companies.
Mhm.
Um, Pinnacle Protection, Boost Protection.
I'm
So
sorry,
private security companies.
Yes,
what was that last one for the record?
Boost Protection.
Could you spell it?
UCE.
UCE, okay, OOS, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is difficult to hear you unless you lean
Sorry.
forward just because of the tone of your voice. I tend to have the same problem. So if you could speak into it, that'll be really helpful, especially to Commissioner Kika for who's listening remotely.
You'll know what we're talking about in 30 years or so. Everything starts to go.
I didn't have any other questions. I mean, again, I'd be interested in hearing, just the differences between the person you were there. I mean, I was happy to hear that you're not interacting with maybe these people that you were involved in this incident with. Sometimes, being in the wrong place in the wrong time with a bad group or a group of people tends to create a different mentality. So that's what would be helpful to me. I think 6 years is long enough for me to see the change that you've undergone. So I would be inclined to support your application. But, I'd like to hear what else you have to say.
Well, from then until now, back then, I was a teenager, living the fast life, and now, well, ever since then, it's been nothing but just constantly working, trying to get my life better. How do I say this? I guess over time you become more wise and more open to things, and I guess I just didn't want to be around, drama, violence. Just try to be about myself.
And you have a baby boy or girl?
Boy,
Okay. How old is he now?
a month.
Tiny. Okay, perfect. I don't have anything further.
You said you have a background in security at other places, you said Pinnacle. Did you carry a weapon at any of those jobs?
All unarmed.
At any of those jobs, did you have any incidents of, complaints for either excessive force, or, regarding fights or things you may have broken up?
No, sir.
So all that employment was incident free.
Yes. They don't, most of those times they don't allow you to go hands on. It's more of a observe and report.
Commissioner Solis Rainey, raises some excellent points about the 6 years that have intervened. I may have spoken too quickly when I said, that I wanted to just focus on the record, below, but you've said some things that actually, make some sense. Let's go back to the incident that occurred on October 15, 2016. Were you just, the wrong place at the wrong time? It was really the fault of the other people you were with?
No, sir. All of us, we all arrived together. I'll pick them up. How do I say this? Basically, we all got there together. The parents were outside. You could tell that we just hopped off the freeway and everything because all the cars were idling a little high. Yeah, the whole time nothing made sense. We originally got pulled over for no license plate, or my bad. How do you say it? I guess the plates were expired. And then the second officer that showed up, he kind of, started to get a little mad. I have no reason why. I don't know why he got mad. And then from there on, it just turned into something else.
Are you presently employed?
Yes.
Where?
So right now with OOS protection.
Oh, with OOS protection. And for the most part, you've been continuously employed.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Just some follow-up questions for you. In the time that you've worked as an unarmed security guard with the various companies you've identified, Did you ever have occasion to call the police for help, to report something? Did you have any interactions with the police during that time?
No, only the times where I was doing dispatch.
What does that mean? Could you explain?
So doing dispatch, basically, you have other skill, like at MGM Grand, my bad, Signature, switched over to Signature. Basically, the only times you'd contact law enforcement, which is with approval of the manager, also depending on the situation at hand. Yeah, it's basically it. There's no bad reasons for, giving them a call.
Okay. And then the thing that gives me the biggest pause is that it's my understanding the couple that was robbed at gunpoint at the park positively identified you and the two other people that you were with. And is it your testimony today that you were never at the park that
I
evening?
was never at the park. And also, if you don't mind me saying,
I don't. This is your floor, please.
so also during that time, how do I say this? It's usually supposed to be, they're supposed to identify you once, but it took multiple times with the officer. And the officer that was standing next to us was on the radio saying, "Are you sure it's them?" Like, a couple times. And it seems like he was trying to pin it on us because he couldn't find out exactly who did it. And then, mind you, the officer also said that he was also there was reports of a stolen vehicle in the area. It's been sitting there for a while. And that happened, so that's why I believe I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And none of the items that were robbed from the couple in the park were located in the vehicle where you were driving?
None of them.
And at any time, did you have any person that you met with to drop off the items that were allegedly robbed? No?
Who I was with me.
Okay. And you've had no arrests, only a speeding ticket in the last 6 years since the incident, is that correct?
Yeah, no other arrest.
No incidents?
No incidents.
Have you ever held a gun at somebody at gunpoint? Okay. I appreciate your time and you coming in today. Can you maybe explain for the record what it would mean to you if you were given the opportunity to work at MGM as an unarmed security officer versus what you're doing now? I'm not understanding the change it would make in your life, if any.
So this sounds different, but basically, I promised myself I'd never work on Fremont or the Strip. And then once I was able to get those chances, it kind of took the weight off my shoulders. I was able to make better money. I was able to do more. I was able to help out more of my family. I guess overall, I appreciated, being there. It felt like family.
Thank you so much for your candor and your willingness to share with us your experience and giving us the information that we need to make a more informed decision. I appreciate your time.
Anything else by any commissioner? Do you have anything else you'd like to say, sir? I'm sorry, did you reach over?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if he was, I don't have my glasses, so I thought he was going to say something.
He's not.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so this is the part where we make a decision, and so it's not really a question and answer of you. It's just a discussion. So at this time,
I'm happy to start. I would be supportive of this gentleman's application. I think there's a big difference between an 18, 19-year-old who does, frankly, they're just very stupid things sometimes. That anytime a weapon's involved, it obviously rises to a different level. I think as a 25-year-old, you appreciate that, and especially now as a father. I know the difference between working in private security and a casino. I mean, it gives you access to benefits to a lot of things that you wouldn't otherwise have that would be helpful to your family. So I would be supportive of giving you an opportunity. Understand that if my colleagues agree to give you an opportunity, this is something that you get once. I mean, you make another, any type of similar mistake, you're not likely to get a second chance. So it seems like you appreciate that. But I mean, for those reasons, I would be inclined to give this gentleman an opportunity. I think keeping him out of the workforce in gaming establishments really does make a difference, both financially and from a benefit standpoint. So that's where I'm at.
If I may?
go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Initially, before you had the opportunity to speak today, based on the record, I was concerned, and I was prepared to sustain the Nevada Gaming Control Board's objection to your registration as a gaming employee. And I do defer quite a bit to the Nevada Gaming Control Board and the administrative proceedings that occurred below. I think I would be comfortable, based on the testimony that's been elicited today under oath, to reverse the decision, but with some sort of a condition of maybe a 1-year stay out of trouble. When I say trouble, I don't mean a speeding ticket. I just want to make sure that nothing happens during your first year when you're working with MGM as an unarmed security guard, and just to make me feel more comfortable going forward. So that's what I'm inclined to do. But I don't speak for the rest of the commissioners.
Well, here's the thing. When we do these hearings, it's very interesting to me. You have the ability to come before us and basically deny an entire events that led to a felony conviction. You had an attorney, you had the opportunity to present your defenses. I get why you might enter Alfred pleas at certain times, but I'm not sure, as far as my colleagues go, and I'm certainly not asking them to explain it, whether it's because they accept your statements of innocence or they deem you rehabilitated and it's been long enough, which is what I hear the commissioner saying, I think. But for me, security guard with the prior felony conviction, and not enough time has passed, and I'm not going to support the position that we should overturn the hearing below the outcome. So that's just, based upon, part of it is because I'm familiar with the system, so incredibly familiar with it. And I know you had the opportunity to put forth all of this, so you chose not to. And I get it, because it's a heavy hammer and it's non-probationable felony offense. I get it. But then coming back later and just kind of second guessing it and disregarding it all is just not something I'm willing to do. So for me, it's just not been long enough. Everything you say, outside of the circumstances of the event, because I'm just going to consider the conviction and then the reduction, is what we want to hear. You're the kind of person, I think, that that will overcome this at some point. But for security guard this soon, not for me. I think there has to be some other period of time. For a different job, we might be having a different conversation. But that's just me. And I appreciate everything you said today, and I respect you for it. But that's just the position I have to take. Commissioner Cohen, do you have any comments, or Commissioner Keykeber?
I still haven't made up my mind. In brief response to Chair Tagliati's statement, I can't undo what was done 6 years ago. You had the opportunity to contest it. Maybe you were railroaded, maybe you weren't, but nevertheless, there was you pled guilty. For whatever reason you pled guilty, you pled guilty. So then the real question becomes the intervening time, the 6 years. You stated that you stayed out of trouble, you've been gainfully employed, you have the girlfriend, you have a family, you've been employed in the security sector, and you're just doing this to better your life. That all bodes well for you. But again, it's hard to look past that conviction. So I'm just going to see what the motion is. But I do have one question for our Attorney General. Based upon Commissioner Brown's question regarding a limitation, is that even something that could be done, a 1-year limitation?
Yes, you could approve or reverse the board's objection and have it effective for 1 year from the date of registration.
Does that mean, Mr. Miles, assuming that were successfully voted on, does that mean Mr. Miles will have to come before the commission again?
I believe he would have to apply with the board again And then if the board were to object and he requested a hearing before the commission, he would, but otherwise, no.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Anybody?
I'll just, I think, make a statement. I think
Okay.
if the, I feel like my role as a commissioner is to err on the side of protecting the integrity of the gaming industry. And while I understand that Mr. Miles' plea was Alfred, and he still maintains his innocence, and he's done obviously a good job in his life trying to move past this. Armed robbery is something that I take seriously. Using firearms in the execution of a crime, it's something that I have a hard time overlooking, and because of that, I'm not going to be able to support this application.
Apologize because I think did you frame it as a motion? I'm
No.
sorry. I
No, but
apologize.
I'm happy to make a motion.
Okay, I don't recall there being an actual motion, but I couldn't remember.
If I may, I'm struggling with this quite a bit because there was a positive identification and you did plead guilty. And I've gone back and forth. I've changed my mind 3 times now since I've read the material, since I've met you, since I've heard the presentation. And I don't have the background in criminal work that Chair Tagliati does as a judge, of course. But it was a guilty plea and it was a felony. So I'm still on the fence, but I'll make a decision shortly.
Motion, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion just based on where I am. I will, for purposes of addressing Commissioner Brown's concern, add a limitation. I don't know that in my mind one is necessary, only because, should anything arise and you, for any reason, blew this one chance that we gave you, I think it would come back anyways. So regardless, I would move to reverse the objection, the Nevada Gaming Control Board's objection to the petitioner's gaming license, limited for a period of 1 year. Within that 1 year, the petitioner shall remain free from any kind of criminal prosecution.
Prosecution or
Or-
arrest or?
This is what you're listening to.
Okay, so there's been a motion made, and I believe it's in proper form. Is there additional discussion by the commissioners? So it's, now is the opportunity to call for a vote. All in favor of Commissioner Solis Rainey's motion, say aye.
Aye. Sorry.
All right, those opposed? I'm opposed.
I'm opposed.
Thank you.
Opposed.
All right, sir. You can come back before the board in a year.
It's a year from today.
It's here, but you would need to have a motion, Chair, to sustain then
Oh,
the objection.
All right.
So
Does
that
anyone have an
motion-
alternative motion? I'm sorry. Thank you. Minor details. Does anyone have an alternative motion?
I would move to sustain the board's objections to your work card.
Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And those,
And I would be opposed.
all right, Commissioner Solis Rainey is opposed. So it's 1 year. And I believe that applies to any employment or just security guard.
I believe it applies to any employment.
Anything that requires a gaming.
For the gaming employee registration card,
Okay.
yes. And it's 1 year from today's date.
All right.
So you could apply for positions that do require a gaming registration card, like housekeeping or, bartending.
Yeah.
In certain places of the casino, I think. So you could check with the division to see, what positions would require one. but you can come back and ask for reconsideration in a year from today.
Mr. Miles, I rarely talk after the vote, but in this particular case, just stay on the straight and narrow. You're doing great. Come back. Come back in a year. And I think there's going to be, again, anything can happen, but I think there's going to be support for you getting back in the industry. So I wish you the best in your endeavors. Thank you, sir, for coming today.
Thank
And
you.
Mr. Miles, I do echo that. I urge you to, if you're at all interested, come back in a year and tell us what you've done in that interim period.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Our next agenda item are the administrative reports. Who's making the administrative report for the board?
I will be handling that, Chair Tagliati. We're going to be having a one-day meeting on Wednesday, November 2nd. It's going to start at 9 a.m. and the second half of the meeting will start at 12 p.m. And we're going to have 6 non-restricted items and 18 restricted.
All right, thank you very much. Anything from the
Nothing
Attorney
today.
General's office?
Nothing today, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, let's close our last agenda item, close with our last agenda item, public comments.
This item is placed on the agenda to give the public an opportunity to comment on gaming-related matters.
Commissioner Keffer, is there anyone present in Carson City to make a public comment?
It's just all us gaming people here.
All one of you?
And support that I desperately need.
All right, and there is no one present here in Las Vegas to make a public comment. That will close our public comment section. This concludes the Nevada Gaming Commission meeting for the month of October. We are adjourned.